What happens if you try to optimize a product? Could be an app, could be a software, and you try to optimize it, but from the start, it doesn't work. What happens? You try to make it faster, you try to make it a better architecture with the code, you try to make it consume less memory. It's completely useless. Right? Usually when you're in tech, you start with an MVP, product that works, that is useful, and then you improve. Then you make it better. Then you optimize it. What sounds extremely obvious when it comes to product development is not applied at all when it comes to presentations. Most people, and especially in tech, make presentations that don't work from the start, and they try to improve on that, to make it better. And they try to make the content better, they try to have a better structure, but it doesn't work. They don't have the attention, and the message is either it's lost or they leave the people around them confused. During this workshop, we will see what it means in the game of presentations to have an MVP, to have something that is extremely simple but works from the start, even without having too much experience at presenting. When we will talk about presentation, we will talk about giving workshops or conferences, of course, but also meetings in companies. Meetings could be even talking to more than one person in a networking setting. Remember just before we were all discussing in the back, most of the groups were more than 2 people. This is already a public speaking setting. I'm Geoffrey Huck, Jeff. I'm a public speaking coach specialized in tech. I work for more than 12 years in tech. And let's start. And we will go right into practice. So now I will point my finger on one person in the room. And at the moment that I point on you, I want you to stand up and to tell us something that you would prefer us not to know. Something that you usually don't tell people that you don't know. And I'd like it to be quick. So, what's it gonna be? Just kidding. The purpose of this exercise is to make you feel something. Who in the room felt something growing in his or her body? Some energy coming, some pressure. Who didn't feel anything? Who were perfectly relaxed, ready to say anything? Well, we have a few, yeah, wow, that's weird. I would have been the scared one, just saying. And to give you a little bit of a background, because when I tell people that I'm a public speaking coach, they don't necessarily know from where I came from. You know, you don't want to get dating advice from a very good-looking person who's just telling you, just smile. You smile and it works all the time. And then you try it and of course it doesn't work and you don't know why. So I used to be extremely shy. I used to be on the completely to the end of the spectrum of introversion. It used to terrify me not to speak in public because that was just completely unbelievable. No, it used to terrify me to go in the corridor of my apartment when I heard noise from my neighbor. I had groceries to get, but the neighbor is in the corridor, so I better wait. Because if I meet this 70 years old lady, I might not know what to tell her. And the pressure you just felt right now, I had it at that moment. That's the butterflies here. It's the sensation. Sensation that you feel in those moments that you felt just before, not everyone. So this sensation also appears in other circumstances. Could be when you see someone you feel attracted to, and should I talk to this person? You start to ponder, and this shows up. Or you're in a meeting, and something isn't quite right. And then should I speak? And usually what happens, if you don't speak, you start to think, okay, so I will speak up. Now let's try to first think about what I will say to see if my idea makes sense and da-da-da-da-da. And when you think about it, the world outside doesn't stop, right? So what usually happens, you think, things happen, the topic change, and your opportunity disappeared. Sensation. This sensation is so interesting. It's the secret that brought me to this guy who couldn't go out in the corridor, to speaking in settings, to become easygoing, to meet people, to talk to them. It's what made me overcome my shyness, my anxiety. It's that whenever I had this sensation, I made a choice. If the sensation is here, don't think. It means you have something to say and you speak up. You don't think about what you will say. You don't negotiate with your brain. Should I do it? Not. No. You go. And then you see what happens. And the magic is that every time I followed this sensation and I spoke up, magical things happened. I just started to speak without knowing what to say. And then I discovered what came out of my mouth in the moment. And it worked so well. I started to be a lot more confident, because why are you not confident? Why is it? You're not feeling confident because there is a block between where you are now and what you would do if you were indeed confident. That's the gap. And between where you are now and the things that would make you confident, that you would make if you were confident, they're just after the sensation. That's all there is. If you have this sensation and you speak up, confident. So I'm not saying that you will feel confident before, because that's the trick. We want to feel confident before. Say, I'll be feeling confident, and then I do the thing. That's not how it works. You do the thing, then you're confident. Then you feel the confidence. So if there is one thing that I want you to remember for this evening, it's this, the sensation. Whenever you're in a meeting and you feel this sensation, you speak up. Don't think, speak up. If you have a question to ask, sometimes, stupid question. But if the sensation is here, don't think, you speak. And if you do that, every time you will grow. That's why it's bigger on this side. See? Here is small, but when you speak, you grow. The path of growth. Whenever you speak up, whenever you follow this sensation, you speak up. And about this sensation, notice that it doesn't happen by accident. This sensation here. It never happens when you're eating an ice cream. Oh, I want pistachio. Ooh, no. At least no, for me, never happened in this case. But why, whenever you have an important phone call to make, the sensation is here again. That's weird. Oh, I have a negotiation coming with my boss, or a job interview, or an important call with a client. Oh, the sensation is here. Oh, that's funny. And with all my experience of following this sensation, there is one thing that I know now. This sensation is automatic. It's your brain that gives you energy. Why does it give you energy? You know it's high stake. You know there is something here, something important. And your brain gives you energy. Energy. Because the brain has computed that you can do it. It will never give you energy. Your brain would never give you energy if it didn't think that you can do it. So it's an automatic process. The brain says, okay, you do it, it's important, so I give you energy. But if you don't follow it, nothing happens. This workshop will be a little bit interactive. Not like before, you will have the choice. I will not point at someone and say, okay, you just say something and speak up. But I'd like you that you all have opportunities tonight to improve as a public speaker and improve when it comes to confidence, to grow. And for the first interactive exercise, I'd like to practice this sensation. Let's go back to our MVP. Why are so many presentations in tech so boring? Why? And can we change it? Do more experience speaking makes you a better speaker. Do you know someone who has years of practice of speaking every day? Teacher, maybe, or professor, and yet they're still boring. Probably know someone like this, right? It's not just about practice. Because even if you are boring and you try to improve on the content, you will still be boring. In fact, you can give the audience the most amazing secrets about life, about anything. But if you don't have the attention, everything is lost. You can be smart, everything is lost because it doesn't matter. Nothing matters if you don't have the attention. That's why attention should come from the foundation. If your MVP, if your way of presenting doesn't get attention, you will not get any better with a better structure, with a better content. It will not matter. You will still have no attention. And this is the problem that we have in tech. We have something that never go past the stage of boringness. But we can do it differently. You can present with passion, with enthusiasm, with excitement. You know, when you talk to your best friend about something that you like, and you have an endless amount of things to say. Does that happen to you? This state of, I just want to talk and talk and talk, and I'm having a great time, and it's amazing. It usually happens with people where we feel very close, where we feel really ourselves on topics that somehow lights us up. And this is what it's all about. If what you talk about, all the way of talking about, it doesn't light you up, you will never get the attention. Okay, unless you're the CEO and then everyone, but then it will be fake. People will not really be here, or they will be here by fear. But that's not what you want. If you talk with the right tones, with something that lights you up, it doesn't matter that much if your content is not perfect. Actually, you can have 20% of good content, but if your speech is engaging, interesting, people will find it right. They will get it. They will get value. They will feel good about it. And they will probably have a great memory about it. And the beauty is that talking with passion, with enthusiasm, something that lights you up, is something that you can do from the start. It's not about having a lot of experience. Okay, I present a lot, and then somehow one day the passion comes out of my mouth. No. If the passion is not here at first, your MVP doesn't work. And if you improve on that, it will never work. And you will be one of those, again, one more boring presenter in tech. And we don't need that. Let's be honest. We would like to have good presentations. But this is also an opportunity for you. Yes, many presentations are boring. Few people really stand out in tech. Which means that if you start with enthusiasm and passion, something that lights you up, bam, you can stand out even if you don't have much experience. And then you will have your nice MVP that gets attention and that gives you confidence. Because when you speak about things that light you up, it's great, it feels great. It's things that you want to share. So the confidence will be here, the satisfaction will be here, the enjoyment will be here. Everything will be present for you to have a great time and for the audience to have a great time too. And now you might wonder, how can I do it? It's easy to say, right? Say, talk with passion. But how? When you face the sensation, the butterflies in your body, you have to be in social situations. It will not happen in your living room if you're alone. But finding your MVP, your angle from which talking is passion, enthusiasm, you can do that in your living room with a phone. You can record yourself with a phone, talk about something, and just see if it feels nice. And this is the best exercise to find this angle. Record yourself, 1 or 2 minutes, doesn't have to be longer. In fact, it's better if it's not too long. And if you do it every day, you try to find topics that you feel like you want to share, something that oh, I feel some passion about this, I will try to speak in front of the camera and I record. And the great thing about recording is when you will watch the record after, if you feel that it's okay, you're not cringing, you're like, okay, I feel quite open, you're a good judge to notice this for yourself. If it's not cringe, if you're like, okay, it feels like myself and I seem to be conveying something natural and authentic, you have it. So that's how you can find it. There's a caveat, though. It can require some exploration. It's possible that you talk about things that should light you up, that you really think you're passionate about. But then when you talk about on it in front of the camera, you're not very natural and it sounds a little bit boring. What to do in this case? Sometimes it's just the angle that is not quite right. And in tech, we have a good example. When you present about a technical topic, you might want to be the documentation. So there is this function API, and then the first parameter is the URL, and then a second parameter, you pass the option to the object. Okay. Then you're probably boring because I don't know anyone who can read documentation while being entertaining. Maybe Morgan Freeman, but I cannot do it. But if you talk about the topic from personal experience, and the best is to talk from struggle. If it's something that you saw, that you lived, that you felt, that made you feel frustrated sometimes, that made you angry, and then somehow you learned another way of doing, you learned another tool, you found another solution or a new methodology. And if you talk from this experience, usually it lights people up. And this is very tied to storytelling. Everyone says storytelling is one of the best tools to captivate an audience. And the best way to craft a story is to talk about something that happened to you. And if you find the right angle and the right tone, you can even apply it to topics that you might not feel very passionate about. For example, I used to be a software engineer, and sometimes I had to optimize very complex and big queries. So I could give a speech about it. It's not my passion, but I might decide that, okay, I try to talk about this. And so I can start with, if you have a complex SQL query, be sure to see the context. Be sure to understand the context, because this will give you hints to optimize the query. It's hard to engage an audience with that. But on the contrary, if I told you about a story, say, 2 years ago, we'd had something that went very slow in our application, and I was in charge to look into it. So there was this big SQL query that took more than 2 minutes to execute. So the first thing I did, I pasted it in a text editor, and I noticed that it was 250 lines long with keywords that I never saw before. Keywords that, when I looked in the documentation, what they were things to tell the optimizer to execute the query in a certain way. That's so smelly. And I lost 1 day fighting with this query trying to use the tools to understand what was so slow about it, but I couldn't think. Probably already faced this when you're facing a complex problem and you can't think and you start to feel tired. And it's such a bad sensation. And after the day, I still didn't understand what this query was all about. The next day, I thought maybe I should understand the context because I don't even know what this query should be doing. I read the documentation on the service, was quite obvious, and I thought, why is this query so complex? That's suspicious, because it should do this and that. Then I look the query, but why does it do it this way? So I removed half of the query, I rewrote it in a better way, and then I fixed the problem in 30 minutes, just by understanding the context of the query. So if you face this problem, a very hard problem, it could be a query to fix, try to understand what it should be doing. And by telling this story, now you probably will remember this concept of the context. Watch the context. But if I just tell you, look at the context, you're like, okay, watch the context. So stories from personal experience, with struggle, with problems that you overcame, that's the best. Because the most emotions you felt during those moments, the more emotions you can give on stage. And you can even give them when you talk in front of the camera. So that's a good thing. Struggle that you overcame, strong emotions, things that you had a hard time before. Your values, this can be a great one. Values, for example, do you like to help? What more do you want in the world? What's important for you? And we all have different answers to that. But if you talk about what you find important in terms of human values, it's a great way to light up. Your motivation, your drive, why do you do what you do? Is it to get better? Is it to make the world a better place? Try to speak about it. And the great thing is that you do the exercise with your phone. Sometimes we are not 100% clear with what's important for us. So you can even reverse engineer your values from it. Oh, honesty. I'm not sure if honesty is very important to me. Maybe it is. I don't know. I record myself 2 minutes talking about honesty. And that's weird. I really felt alive. It really lighted me up. That's interesting. Sometimes you can find things just with this exercise. So it's all about the angle. If you're not feeling joy when you present something, no excitement, you feel nothing, you don't have the right foundation. And improving on that will most likely not work very well. But once you know what lights you up, that's where the beauty starts. Because you will be able to find, every time you have to speak, an angle that makes you feel alive. And this can be used even in meetings to stay with stakeholders or with your team. If you think that your meetings are boring, if you can get attention, first try to ask yourself, are you interested in what you're saying? Is the angle right? And if not, change it slightly. You can try to use the angle of the team or the angle of how can we help our clients better? Or the angle of, did we get better last week? Did we improve as a team, as individuals? And try. Because if it doesn't light you up, how can you expect that the audience will give you their attention? How can you expect to make something resonate within them? You can't. if you're not enthusiastic about what you talk, you will never make other people feel more enthusiastic about what you talk. Impossible. So if you present a meeting and it's boring for you, I don't want to be in the audience. But if you manage to find a way, then you're amazing. You imagine you can stand out just presenting a meeting. But let's go back to presentation. There are certainly topics that you feel passionate about that you would like to share. So now we will do some interaction between you. So I hope you could exchange, and from what I heard, there was some enthusiasm here. Maybe even some passion.
Yes.
So now we know what to do when we feel the sensation, the butterflies. We speak up. Now we know how to have our MVP. The right angle that makes you talk with passion. So now we're going to talk about optimization. How do we make our MVP better? How do we do for a product in tech? Usually, small improvements, right? That's what we do nowadays with our methodologies. And I know we have some people in the room who are doing agile and related methodologies. We improve a product by small incremental experiments. And if we do things well, we also measure, is the product better or not? And if it's better, we keep it and we improve it further. But if it doesn't work, we might be better by just removing it. So again, when it comes to a product, we know how to improve a product. We know that working for 2 or 3 years, doing a very big change, and releasing it after this time will not lead us much farther in a great place. We might just completely mess up. It's the same in public speaking. We don't train for 2 or 3 years in our living room, and then we go out in the world and we are just so scared and it doesn't work, and then we are completely depressed. So that's not how we do. We also want small improvements. Know that we have this way of talking that works. Now it's time to be great. And how do we become great as a speaker? How can we stand out and really be like those speakers that we remember our life because it was just so great? By having all the possibilities of expression. If you start out, but even if you have some experience talking, but the only thing that you ever did was to stand behind the computer and speak about the presentation. So as you can see, this is an arrow that goes to the sky. And this arrow is your skills. I would like to be able to put more emphasis, but I can't because the only thing I can do is standing behind my computer. So you need to start to try everything. You want all the choices. You don't want to be on stage and be limited by your skills. You know, if for example, you need to raise your voice because there is something that you really need to put emphasis on. An idea that is just so important, but you never, ever raised your voice on stage. You can't do it. You can't. And if you try, you feel scared. You feel, oh, I can't do that. If at some point you need to jump and say, ta! Maybe because there is something in your message that requires it, or just because you notice that you lost someone's attention and you wanted to get it back. So you want to be able to do everything on stage. The beauty is, usually we don't feel very confident when we are talking with the voice. We talk and talk and talk, but we are at the limit in terms of volume, in terms of intonations, and it doesn't work much. Imagine that you have a kind of a percentage, a skill bar when it comes to expressivity. And you're someone who never really expressed any emotion. So just talking like this, I might be on 90% on my bar. I'm 90% already. So I have 10% to go to 100, and maybe it's just to raise a little bit my voice, but I can't do much more than this. I don't have a range of expression. But if you already practice screaming on stage or showing intense emotion, maybe anger because you were just and you know you can do it, then when you are in your meeting, you feel so much lighter. Because you know that just talking normally, it's 25, maybe 30% on your bar, and you have all the other way of expressing yourself that you're not even using, but you know they're here if you really want to make a point or if you really want to illustrate something important. So that's the idea now know that we improve. We want to increase the intonations, the way that we express ourselves, so that we have all the possibilities on stage, so that we have this big bubble of skills that we can use at any moment. So it could be making eye contact with the audience. If you never did it before, it will not appear magically. At some point, you need to present and think, this time I will practice eye contact. Doesn't come naturally. Maybe another time you will want to make something more grandiose because you want to see how it looks. You want to be able to project your voice. So you will do your presentation, and then at one moment, you will raise your voice like this. So there is still a precision to be made. We are not screaming or dancing or singing or doing silly things just for the sake of it. When you're on stage, you are in the service of your message. Right? It's not you, it's the message that is important. It could be someone else, this other person would convey the same message in a better way. It's not about you. No one cares that it's you on stage. You're here for a message, right? If it were someone else with a different name, with a mustache, that would convey the same message, you wouldn't know that it was supposed to be me. So why is it always me when we're on stage? That's why you tend to feel so anxious before a presentation. I have many clients who come to me, and one of the first things they tell me is, Jeff, I want to show them that I'm smart. how can I do that? How can I show them that I'm smart, that I'm interesting? It makes me so anxious. I don't know what to do. But of course, if you try to control how other people are thinking or perceiving you, you're completely screwed. You're screwed. If I try to sound smart, and if you're not convinced, my self-esteem, no, I'm smart, no, please tell me I'm smart, please tell me I'm smart, right? I'm a software engineer, I'm do coding all my life, tell me I'm smart. My mother used to tell me that I'm smart. If you don't think I'm smart, I'm dead, no. If you're like this, it means maybe you just take things too personally. And you need to relax, you know. No one cares if you're smart. No one. Why are you in the audience? Why are you here tonight? Because you think you will get something of great value, right? Maybe I will get good ideas that will make you a better presenter. That's why you're here. You want maybe inspiration, techniques that will make you stand out. But you're not here for me to prove that I'm a great speaker. Please, tell me I'm a good speaker because I'm not sure. No, you don't care about this. You care about the message. The message. That's all there is, the message and the value. So whenever you're coming on stage, or whenever you're speaking in a meeting, it's the same. Could be a meeting, could be on stage, could be in a dinner. If you feel extremely anxious, how can I convince them that I'm blah, 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 blah? Maybe you're doing it wrong. And it's the same if you're selling. How can I make them buy? Please buy. If you don't buy, my self-esteem will, I will not get my bonus. Who cares? They're not here so that you can have your bonus. Right? They're not here so that you can get your bonus. They're here because they thought maybe they will get something of value. And it's the same when you are selling. If you push the product, look, the product's so great, so nice, so beautiful, please buy it, so cheap and so great. Who cares? But if you try to understand what's your problem, what do you want, what is important for you, and you try to understand the people who are here, and so you don't speak for you, but you speak for them, because you think that, I think if I were sitting right now, that's the kind of things I would want to hear. And so your focus should be outside for them. If you feel self-conscious, doesn't work. For example, many of my clients, they ask me, how can I have a natural body language? It's very weird, huh? You know, if you're on stage and then you start to be conscious, how can I do an ID? It's very unnatural. The other day I was running towards my goals. No, it doesn't work. You don't have to think about body language. It's completely automatic. If you don't have the right body language, you're not speaking in the right way. You don't have the enthusiasm, you don't have the joy, you don't have the excitement, and then it means that your foundation is not right. So you need to work on finding your angle we talked before. If you want to be engaging in a meeting but you cannot get attention, same. Try to be interested in what you're saying before you try to make them feel interesting. So first, start to find a way of talking. And once you find it, then, all right, now that I know how to talk in a way that is interesting and engaging, what is important for them? How can I interest them? How can I make them have a great time? How can I make them not think, this is just one of those, another meeting? Doesn't have to be this way. If you do it right, if you find this way of doing, first, how to talk with something that you care about, and then what are they interested in? What's the value that I can give them? Then you have it. So it's important to know that the crazy challenges, when you scream or if you want to, I don't know, maybe sometimes you will want to do this on stage because you never did it before and you want to have this because maybe one day there will be a moment where it just fits the message so well and you will do it naturally. Because that's just, you have the ability, you're here for the message and you're here for the audience. And then you want to use it. So you want to have all the capabilities on stage, but you want to make sure that it's not self-focused. You want to make sure that if you raise your voice, it's for the message. And then you iterate over and over and over until you are able to do everything on stage. So just to give you a few examples, maybe one day you will do a presentation on stage and you say, I would like just to walk around the stage because I never did that before. And so you will do it at some point, you will talk, and you will do it, and then you have a new skill. As simple as that. Maybe another time you will want to be able to do animations. Something like you arrive, and then you're like, hello, Tech Talk, Frankfurt! Because it's one of the best ways to have attention. It's a way to give energy to the people. It's a great skill to have. If you never did it before, you can't do it. But if you know you can do it, then you can just use it whenever it feels that it's the right thing to do. Some people, sometimes they sing a little bit. Or they can dance. Just because at some point, it's the best way to give the maximum power in the message. Another type, you might want to ask a question in the audience. You want to ask an open question. Then you look at someone and say, do you feel good tonight? Yes, okay, that's great. It's a nice skill to have, but if you never did it before, it will not happen. I could use it right now because in the past, I made a short presentation in which I wanted to ask a question to someone in the audience just to be able to do it. And now I just used it. I didn't prepare it. I just saw, okay, right now it seems like a nice thing to do. And it comes naturally because I know I have the skill to do that. And everything is like this. If you never talked a joke on stage, the joke will not magically appear. No. The first time you prepare your presentation and you're like, let's try to add a short joke, short one, and you give your presentation and you say the joke. And every time you make a presentation, you add something like this, something that stretches your current skills, something that you never did before. If you're really a beginner, if for you just going on stage is so scary and paralyzing, just speaking up is something that is so intense and brings so much anxiety in you, just speaking up, it's your challenge. You don't need to add anything else if that's the case. But once it's not paralyzing anymore, then add a little bit of spices. Because that's why most of the presentations in tech are boring. Because at the beginning, the presenters, they feel scared. So they do it, they face the fear, they do it a few times, and then at some point with experience and with facing fear many times, it becomes a bit less scary. And then they feel more confident, so they're confident when they talk. But they're average, because they never stretched their capabilities. If you want to be outstanding, if you really want to be an amazing speaker, when you start to be more comfortable, you need to add those spices yourself. You need to add something in your presentation that brings a little bit of fear. Because if there is no fear, there is no progress. You can't get better without fear. Fear is the fuel when it comes to speaking skills. And you can even use fear as a compass. So if you don't know what to try on stage, try to think, what would I be a little scared to do on stage? Maybe it's raising my voice. Maybe it's animation. Maybe it's walking around, asking a question. Try to find what brings a little bit of fear. Not an enormous amount of fear. Okay, step by step. If it's paralyzing, then it's probably a bit too much. But if you do it step by step, then your comfort zone will grow by step by step. And that's the process. Shouldn't be paralyzing, but every time, a little bit of fear to make sure that your comfort zone is really growing. And you need fear for that. A little bit. And also, when you do this challenge, make sure that it's short. Don't do a crazy challenge for the whole duration of your speech, because you want something that is scary, but you want also something that you just do it and then it's done. For example, if you have, at some point, you will just see, and that's it. No more challenge for tonight. Because if you do too much, then first, it can fail. Remember that it's learning an iterative process. When it comes to public speaking, you can make mistakes. It's part of the game. If you never make mistakes, you're probably not learning enough. So you need to be ready that you will do some mistakes. But the thing is, if you did something that felt a little bit scary, even if it didn't work, you followed the path of growth. So you're growing, you're doing the process to get better. Even if it didn't work that time, you are in the process of growing. And so make sure that even if it didn't work, be satisfied. Don't give your talk and then sit on the chair and then start to think. You speak and then you sit on the chair and then you're like, it was quite okay. Oh, wait, there were this little thing that I missed. I'm sure that they remember. Oh, I'm terrible. Maybe I should never speak again. It's very easy to get trapped in the thinking. And this is a key moment after you speak and you sit down. Don't reflect. It's not time for reflection. Your brain is not in the state in which you will have anything positive out of it. You will just try to, it's quite nice, and then, let's see if I can find something bad about this talk. And then if you look for it, you will find it, and then you will feel bad about it. It's important that whenever you face fear, it means you're brave. It's true and raw courage to face fear. So, if you do it, think that, wow, maybe I'm courageous after all. And just no analysis. Be satisfied. You did it. Good job. You're growing. Congratulations. And that's it. And then the trick is, if you realize that your mind is going crazy, focus on the outside. Don't focus on yourself, but, oh, who's speaking now? What are they talking about? Oh, the lights are nice. Try to put all your focus on the outside. And then repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And then your MVP will become an amazing product. Interactive moment. So now I'd like to ask you of ideas of things that you would like to try as a presenter. Could be in meeting or in presentations. Let's try to brainstorm a little bit and find things that would be nice to try. Could be creativity. Creativity, it's a great one to find it. Could be something that makes you feel a little bit scared. Or it could be something that you saw one day someone do and that you found great. Anyone wants to share an idea? What would be nice to try?
You mean something more abstract? Like, for example, to be able to engage with the audience?
Engaging with the audience, yeah?
Exactly.
Asking questions?
Yes. For example, from my side, when I speak in public, I have this problem of engaging with the audience. Yeah? And it's also, I try to not look at them.
Oh, then one of the challenge would be maintaining eye contact. And this is something, at some point, it's something that most of the people, they need to challenge themselves consciously about it. It's rare that eye contact comes naturally to a speaker. At some point, it's a challenge. And the first time you do, it's scary, huh? Oof. First time you notice the people's eyes and you try to maintain eye contact, it's scary. Yeah. Other ideas?
Perhaps not another idea, but regarding to the eye contact, if you are, I don't know it in English, a little bit in yourself, keine Haltung hast, no? You are standing very slow, then very down on something, then it's also hard for the audience to follow you. But if you make yourself
yes, open posture, very important. Gives you range of expression, makes you feel better, and it looks more engaging. This is forbidden on stage. Just unless you really want to make a point, this is forbidden too. Hiding behind the podium also. It's hard to be engaged. It looks like I'm doing my thing on my side, and then you're just here, but not really important. So posture is important, and I like to emphasize the posture, because many times people don't feel really comfortable on stage. And when I tell them that they should open their posture, it goes better.
I have something which I would like to have in my future project. It would be to give the audience the feeling that we're on the same side, that we're partners. I hope I can manage to do that.
Wow, how do you have any plan to do that? How could we?
I don't know, I just came up with ideas, so it's the first step, but that's something which I really would like to realize.
So of course, if you want to do it on stage, it needs to be actionable. So you have an idea. How can I make the audience and me on the same side? I'd say maybe you can start by asking questions.
Yeah, it's good start.
You can ask them why are they here, what they would like to get from this meeting, and just see. If you don't ask, you might never know.
Can I say another thing?
Yeah.
I also realized that you use the stage a lot, yeah? And this is something that I will struggle to, because I'm used to be in the same point and just talk, yeah? And I think it's something very important to use the stage, move around, and makes a little bit more dynamic the communication.
Yeah, so some people, they start to speak and they're nervous and they go around and around and they keep moving. And other people, they are very static. The thing is, it's different for everyone. When I work with my clients one-on-one, we always try to find what's the most effective thing that they can do today to improve their speaking skills. But it's different for everyone. You have an idea?
I have an idea. It will be an answer on your very first question to make our feelings what I would never talk about. And I would never talk about that my talks are not always perfectly prepared. So I have still a feeling that if I had two more days, and then will be perfect. And maybe next time I will probably come to stage and think, okay, now it's the perfect talk for you for now. Maybe it could be better in the future, but let's do it now.
Yeah, you can always improve. I'd say be careful to not feel confident only when you are very prepared. This is the TED Talk effects. You have someone who trains for a TED Talk. Then they hire a coach and they work on these TED Talks for weeks. And they repeat it dozens of times. And so when they give their TED Talks, they're extremely confident, everything is timed, everything is perfect. But then the next day, when they present a meeting, they have this anxiety, they have the fear, and they don't feel comfortable. So you really want to be confident even if you don't practice too much. That's why it's so important to speak up whenever you are in a situation where you're not fully prepared, to train yourself to be confident with no preparation. And this goes back to the butterfly. Whenever you have the feeling of butterfly, whenever you are in a meeting or whatever the situation, speak up. This will train you to speak without preparation. And same thing for improvising every day on the phone. Try to find topics, any topics, and then talk about it for 2 minutes. And so that you will feel confident talking, even without the presentation. It doesn't mean don't prepare your presentation. But make sure that your confidence doesn't come only for preparation. Otherwise, you're stuck. If someone asks you a question, paf, no confidence. And then you're stumbling on the words and everything. But this might be caricatural, but it really happens.
Maybe this also ties a bit into the engaging with the audience, because when you prepare a talk, you typically have a script in mind and you know what to say. But the moment you engage with the audience, you never know what comes back. So you need to be spontaneous about it.
Yes. Yeah. And there is even the spontaneity when something goes wrong. What happens if the computer doesn't work? What happens if someone is asking something or making trouble in the room? This can happen. But this is not really something that you can control. But yeah. So during this workshop, we saw a process. Remember, first, whenever you have something, a sensation, you speak up. Then you want to find your angle, something that you feel passionate about. It takes some tries. If you don't know how to do it yet, it will take some time. And then, of course, stretching the abilities, of course, it takes practice. Because the more presentations that you give, and the better you will get. But I know that you might have a presentation tomorrow, and you might not have the time to do all this practice. Maybe you want to improve tomorrow, right? You want to follow the process because that's what will make you outstanding and really amazing as a speaker. but you might also want to be a little better tomorrow. So a few instant tips. The first tip I wanted to give you, I talked about it already. It's not about you. Don't try to impress. Don't try to sound smart, but ask yourself what people need, what people want. This is a mindset shift that can really make you feel better about the whole process. It will make your presentation better, and it will also reduce, many times it reduces the anxiety. So I have a client, he's a consultant, and whenever he has a presentation with his clients or he wants to get new clients and he have this sales call, he sometimes felt anxious for weeks before giving the presentations. And what really changed this with him was to just focus on them. And he told me that when he focuses on them, it really, he doesn't feel anxious anymore. Just feels, okay, let's go. So this is something that can work. Structure. The most important part of the speech is the opening. The first 1, 2, or 3 sentences. Think of it as a clickbait. You need to catch attention. People might be living a life in their head. Many things can happen, but if you don't catch the attention from the start, you might never get it. So when it comes to the opening, you can take some time to even memorize it. Try to find something that catches attention. It doesn't mean that your first opening will work well. So again, it's trial and errors, but think about the opening. Most of the time, we don't even think about it. We're like, okay, everyone, let's start, and then you start. But then people are still on their phone, and they're still thinking about what they're cooking tonight, or which restaurant they want to go, and blah, blah, blah. Spend some time with the opening. Even memorize the opening. If there is one thing in your speech that you want to memorize, it's the opening. I don't advise memorizing anything else in a speech than the opening. Because if you memorize, imagine that my speech is memorized, then if you're here or not, wouldn't change anything if I memorize. So if my speech is memorized, it's like a recording. Doesn't matter if I'm really giving it. Because no matter what you do, my speech will be the same. So it means that you have no influence whatsoever. So of course it will not be interesting for the audience if they don't have the influence. And also, we are very bad at writing speeches. It sounds written. It's not conversational. If I write a speech and I read it to you, you will not feel like I'm talking to you. You will feel as I'm reading a speech. And also, you will tie your confidence to the fact that you memorized it well. And if somehow you have emotional trouble when you are speaking, you will lose everything and then it will not work. Second most important part of the speech, the conclusion. And here, start by the conclusion. When you are preparing a speech, first ask what's the conclusion? What's the main points? And then you write your speech after that. Starting with the conclusion makes you sure that you get to the point. If you're giving online presentations or if you have online meetings, look the center of the camera. The center. You can even do this exercise to move a little bit, but always focus your eyes in the center of the camera. So that the people who are on their computer, they will feel that you're talking to them. The biggest mistake that you can make is to have a secondary screen here, and then you have the camera here, but then you talk, but people don't see them engage. Do you know what I mean? It's weird, right? So the rule that I follow myself is that if I'm talking to more than one person, I focus only in the center of the camera. If it's just one person, I focus the center of the camera for 30 seconds to give a good first impression, and then I look at the video of the other person. And a little trick, move the face of the other person near your camera. So if you have, for example, the camera just above your screen, put their face near the camera so that the angle that makes your eyes with the camera is not so big, and so the person will still have the impression that you talk to them. Let's see if I have another tips that I wanted to show you. Oh, the slides. If you use slides, make them extra simple. If they're reading, you lost. You lost the attention. And losing the attention is just losing. Because no attention, nothing. And if you lose the attention just for a few seconds, you might never get it back. So be extremely careful with the slides. The less, the better. Don't use your slides to remember your speech. So thank you very much. Before we go, I will leave a paper on the table over there. You can add your name and your email. And if you do, I will send you all the main points that were covered during this workshop, so that you don't have to, oh, what if I forget something, or oh, there was this thing, and then, no, it's okay. You can have everything again. So I'm Geoffrey Huck. I'm a speaking coach who specialized in tech. I typically work with, it ranges from CEOs to consultants. I also work with a few IT freelancers. And I help them to speak with confidence, have impact, and be effective. I typically do online coaching. So it's a typical program is 3 months with one call every week, and we cover something, a dimension of public speaking every week. And it follows the same path that I presented you. First about speaking up, developing this style, finding the angle from which you speak with passion, with enthusiasm, and stretching the abilities depending on what type of presentations we are talking about and what the person would like to be as a speaker. I also occasionally give trainings in companies. So if your company, if you believe that this is something that might benefit your company, we can talk about it. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I post tips every day about how you can become a better speaker, especially if you're working in tech. And here's my website, and you can also contact me by email. Thank you very much.